Welcome to the Eclectic Entertainment Experience, hosted by James Vassar. Well, welcome in, guys. Welcome to the Eclectic Entertainment Experience, Triple E podcast for short. Well, I'm your host, James Vassar, and I'm excited for you to join me on this week's quest. So, thanks for being here, adventurers and explorers. It has been quite some time. I will say that. I've been a little crazy living life, and I know you guys have missed me. But here we are. I'm back. I'm sorry to say, but I'm back. And I do apologize for all the distance and time, but we're here to stay. So let's have some more fun. Lots of cheering today. I love it. Wow. And it's really early, so I'm not sure how we're gonna do this, but oh well, we'll get through it. So we're gonna just jump right into some fun stuff today.
We're going dice right, ice cream, alert, 654, Jose. Okay, 1-0.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna talk about some ice cream. I mean football. Football. That's what we're gonna do. And this is American football for all you soccer players out there. So football is pretty cool, right? I think it's pretty amazing. Uh, I know everyone else listening is like, yeah, football's the best. So you know what's even better? Fantasy football. You know what I'm talking about. That's that's and not that type of fantasy. I mean, um, mm, man, that gives me some feels. And that's a whole nother episode right there. Just oh my goodness. My goodness. My goodness, I'm so sorry, guys. Lots of technical difficulties. First time back, I guess, in a while. And clearly my computer was thinking a different type of fantasy. Yeah. Anyways, what is fantasy football? All right, so I'm glad you've asked. Yeah, it's definitely kind of not real, but the actual objective is real. Definitely real. And you basically have a team of professional football players, in the NFL, and every week you face someone else's team and you score points based on the player's stats, touchdowns, yards, even receptions in some leagues, and even negative stats, interceptions, fumbles, that whole jargon, bargain stuff, stats. So yeah, that's fantasy football for you. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. That's it. Just kidding. I gotcha. My goodness. I'm sorry, computer. I didn't know that you were touchy today. Man, so aggressive. So let's talk about this. So there's obviously more, right? Fantasy football, that seems simple and everyone be like, okay, cool. Um, but we got to break this down. And first, let's break down the common misconception, which is why do you play fake games? Yeah, laugh at me all you want. Yeah, so as much as it seems fake, right? It's very real to the players like myself. I have 4 leagues that I'm in and that's pretty excessive, but hey, I I enjoy it that much. So sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So all right, so let's start with the obvious. So what's the point, right? So you've got a game and it's just like any other competition, right? So you can win prizes but also win some pride, whether it's a trophy or just a belt or a shirt. I don't know, whatever. It's cool. And it also kind of gives you another way to experience football on Sundays, and I mean, obviously, there's Thursday night games, Monday night games, Saturday games randomly sprinkled in, which is kind of weird, but it really kind of enhances that. Now, why does it enhance it? Well, it kind of forces you to enjoy all of the games. There's times where you're like, "Oh, this game, this is gonna be boring." But then you're like, "Oh, I have a fantasy player on it. I hope he does well." And then you kinda just watch the game to watch your player that's on your fantasy team, and then you're just like, "Yes, he scored a touchdown," or, "Oh, wow, that was a great 30-yard catch." You get it. I mean, you probably don't, but you get it. Yeah. So, um, okay, whatever. So that's part of the why, right? That's the point. That's the fun aspect, right? But then some people are like, already a fan of football and they love the sport and they enjoy watching their team, right? I'm a Vikings fan. Some people really like good teams, not like me. I don't have a very good team, but you watch your team and you root for them, just like we're all football fans. But then there's also this idea, because you're probably like the wheels are starting to turn. You're like, well, if you pick up these players, which is a draft, which we'll get to, you may have players on another team, right? And you're like, yeah, yeah, that's right. So like, when I have a Bears player and I'm playing against the Vikings, I'm gonna cry, right? Well, okay, I do cry a little bit, and I used to a lot because there's always that competition of like, oh, well, I'm rooting for my favorite team, but I'm also rooting for my fantasy team. And yes, it gets very specific, like, oh, I hope that the Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts goes off against the Vikings, but the Vikings pull out a tight one, so there's like a lot of points scored and the Vikings win. Yes, which part of that did come true this year. The Eagles and the Vikings scored a lot, but the Vikings didn't win, so it's sad. Okay, anyways, that's beside the point, but you kinda get my drift, right? And I've been doing this for so long that I've grown accustomed to it. So I get used to the fact that my team, my fantasy team, some of those players are going to be playing against my, favorite football team, and that happens so often that it's just kinda normal. Especially when you have 4 leagues, right? Um, a lot of these leagues that you play in, there's most of the format is similar, right? So it's like as far as your roster goes, you play 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and then they call it a flex position, which means you can play a wide receiver, tight end, or running back in that slot. Uh, some leagues have defenses and kickers, some leagues don't have kickers, some leagues don't have defenses. It's kind of dependent on the league format. Again, this is kind of like all different types of leagues. I mean, it's just like football itself. Like we're talking about the NFL, but what about the rules in the XFL, which I know like all of you probably have watched before, or the Canadian Football League? Definitely another popular one. Point is there's different rules, and so it just kind of like pinpoints and that. And to be frank, it can get confusing, but when you've played it so long, it's just like playing different games, right? When you play, you know, I, uh, a different board game or something. I know you guys aren't nerds, but anyway, so that can be definitely a challenge. We're going back to it, right? So you have these players, and you prepare for a draft. So every year, at the beginning, right before football season starts, you usually do a draft, which is so much fun. It's fun to prepare for it. You look into stats. You're kind of deep diving. Where these maybe some of these players have moved teams, right? Or maybe they're a rookie and they're up and coming. Like, are they going to be good for this team? What's their hype level? Do they have a good team they joined? Or are they on a projected to be on a bad team, right? Or you can listen to podcasts and get their opinions, because they may have analyzed some more stuff that you may not be able to see because you're not super analyst. I don't know. You get it. So then you can also look in like rankings, like who's the best player, who's not, right? And you'll find that a lot of things on your draft day, a lot of the top players are going to be players that are good football players, right? They're really good football players, and they usually rack up a lot of stats. Example is Christian McCaffrey. If you watch football, you know who that is. Really good running back for the 49ers. Runs a lot, scores a lot, catches a lot, just does it all, right? Patrick Mahomes was, a pretty good player as well. He hasn't been as good this year, but his defense is better. So, but like you can kind of see where the top players are. Tyreek Hill's an example. If you know how the Miami Dolphins are doing, they're really good, or at least their offense is really good. So watch out for them. But yeah, so you get to do that. But then also it's fun because usually, at least for me, like one of my well, actually, 3 of my leagues, 3 of my 4 leagues, I play with my, like, really good friends. One of these leagues I've been playing for, 13 years, which is just nuts, wild, right? 13 years of fantasy football with the same guys. Well, mostly the same guys. A couple people have left, some people came in, but it's really fun too because not only do you have the draft day experience, but then you also have the experience of being with these guys or gals. This is not um, just a male only thing, male only event experience. Yeah, you get it. So the point is it's just so fun to kind of create that, right? And then like I was just looking right now, like I was looking at my one league and seeing if oh wait, maybe there's trade. Oh yeah, sorry, back to it. Yeah, so like I'm looking into my leagues and maybe trying to trade, right? Like I need one of my leagues, I really need a running back, and I'm trying to find another running back. One of my leagues, I really need a wide receiver, because my wide receivers are not as good as uh, but you can do that throughout the season, so it's, like, kind of always, like, talking, trading, maybe hanging out, whatever, and then, also you have players that don't get drafted, and they get an opportunity or, oh, after the first couple weeks, they're like, "Oh, this guy's actually pretty good. We should add him to our team." So you then have these waiver wire ads and drops and pickups that you can do throughout the year, which is fun too because you're like, oh, maybe I'll pick up this guy and he'll do really well, or maybe he won't, and then I'll be mad and frustrated, and then I'll pitch a fit and cry. I've never done that before, so it's kind of fun like that, and it's consistent, and you get to do things. And then there's like, if you're really crazy, you can be in what they call dynasty leagues, where you draft all your players and then that's your team forever because that's what a dynasty is, trying to build a dynasty and be the best forever. So that's cool too because you stick with the same players, you try to draft more, or you only do it like a rookie draft, so you try to add to the rookies or use some crazy trades, stuff like that. The typical fantasy is just a redraft league where you draft your team, that's your team for the year, pick up, trade, whatever, and then at the end of the year, you start over kind of thing until the next year. Yeah, so fantasy football, it's fake for reals though, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, I feel like there's more to say, like I get it. If you don't know football, you're kind of like, what? Which is definitely I would learn a little bit about football before you do fantasy football, but it can enhance it. I did have someone I used to work with, she didn't really watch football at all, and she did fantasy football because she loves numbers and stats, and she's kind of very mathematicianish, and she actually like did really well her first year she played because she looked at the stats, she read up on the numbers, and she drafted from a very interesting position of not biased, right? Because she just look at numbers. Um, and I suck at doing that because I like get emotionally attached to certain people. And I always draft the Viking player every year thinking, oh, he's going to be so good. And maybe he is. Like, there are good Viking players that are good in fantasy, AKA Justin Jefferson, the best of the world. So that would be cool. But at the same time, not every dream lives out to what it is. So, so you could do fantasy before you watch football and understand football. But it can help both ways. Like, and it has enhanced both for me, right? I know more about the players. I know more about football. I know more about how certain teams do certain things. I even get more into the coaching, which is kind of wild. It just becomes like intensifies the experience. So I recommend fantasy. Now, if you've never played fantasy, I would do it with some friends. But you can always do like a random league, and like go online and find a random league, go on any ESPN or Yahoo and just add a new league. My suggestion is not to do that because you don't know if these players are going to stick around. And that ruins the experience of when someone doesn't set their lineup for like 3 weeks in a row, because then some teams are getting like a free win, which I mean, you're like, oh, cool, free win. And that sounds great and all, but then it kind of, it really bums out the experience because not everyone's as committed as you are. It's like if you were playing basketball and the one player just kind of, he's running around the court and just kind of like, yeah, and then kind of like stops and stares at the wall and doesn't play, that's just lame. So I would definitely not do it with random. I try to find some friends that are into it, and then that's how you get in or start a league. I would definitely have someone that's a little more knowledgeable so that they can help you through it. But it doesn't mean that you can't not do it with someone knowledgeable. Like you can get a bunch of friends and just, hey, let's play fantasy football and do a league. And who knows? That would be random and fun. But and there's so many things to it. There's so many variations. But yeah, I would recommend it if you have never done it. It's really enjoyable, and I would look into podcasts and stuff. That helps. That enhance my. That's really got me to really love fantasy football more, and I've gotten more involved in it and more delve into the stats and numbers and how people do things, and it's just fun. It's really enjoyable. So yeah, so that is the fantasy football. I know. You're probably like, great, who cares? You will care though, I promise, because it is real, even if it's fake. It's real. Don't tell anyone else. All right, yeah. So that's today's episode brought to you by realness.com, where everything is real, including fantasy football. All right. Jokes aside, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Eclectic Entertainment Experience. I have added a Patreon, so if you want to support me, just getting started, rocking out, there is two memberships, a $2 one, chilling, just throw me some cash money, yo. This is weird to say, but anyways, $5 one for a membership. If you have any ideas you want to spread my way, I'll give you a shout out on my show and on the podcast. If you want to share me an idea, um, you can jump into that one, and I'm gonna start doing some exclusive episodes through that group. But yeah, check it out. Also, check out all the socials and the medias and all that good stuff. Um, because now I'm not on Twitter anymore. I'm on X. I don't know anymore with that. So don't. That's confusing to me. But yeah, I'm on the Faces books of the Face and the Instas. I'm not on TikTok yet. So keyword, yes, yet. So yeah, just check them out. But yeah, appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya. Thank you for listening to today's adventure on the Eclectic Entertainment Experience. Please like, subscribe, and share with your fellow explorers. And until next time, keep being eclectic.